There's something terrifying, yet beautiful, about authority. Because real authority doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to argue. It simply is undeniable, unshakable, and unstoppable. Now imagine this: hell, a realm of fire, torment, and rebellion. Lucifer, the self-proclaimed king of that darkness, seated upon a throne forged from pride itself. And suddenly everything begins to tremble, not because of war, not because of rebellion, but because someone was coming, an angel, not to negotiate, not to destroy, but to humiliate the Prince of Darkness, right in his own kingdom. And this angel didn't come on his own. He came with the full authority of God, pulsing in every beat of his wings. Now let me ask you this: what kind of angel has the courage to step into hell itself? What kind of light can walk through eternal fire and not be consumed? And most of all, why would God send one of his own into that place? This isn't just a story about power. It's about purpose. It's about how far heaven will go to prove that darkness never wins. And by the end of this video, you'll see this isn't only about angels or demons. It's about you. Because whether you know it or not, the same authority that entered hell that day was meant to live inside of those who believe. But before we dive into the battle that made hell shake, where we uncover the hidden stories behind the verses most people overlook, if you love deep biblical revelations and spiritual stories that'll make you think differently, then make sure you like this video, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss the next mystery we uncover. Now, let's go deeper. The story begins long after Lucifer's fall, after his rebellion, after the chains, after the roaring pride that turned the brightest angel into the darkest enemy. Hell was his domain now, or at least he believed it was. He had gathered his legions, his thrones of fire, his armies of the fallen, and in that world of flame and ash, the sound of worship had long been silenced, until one moment, a sound echoed through the void, not of pain, but of authority. It wasn't thunder, and it wasn't screaming. It was a frequency that hell had not heard since the day it was formed, the sound of heaven's command. And from the highest heavens, God's voice thundered through realms unseen. He called the name of one of his mightiest, an angel so radiant that creation itself bowed when he passed. Some say it was Michael, the warrior prince. Others say it was a being far more mysterious, an angel who walked between both mercy and judgment. But whoever he was, when God spoke, he listened. "Go," said the voice that made stars. "Go into the place of rebellion and remind the liar who still reigns." And just like that, the heavens opened. Every star dimmed for a moment. Every angel turned their gaze downward, because what was about to happen had never happened before. A being of divine light descending into the darkest realm in existence. Can you imagine it? The sky of heaven folding open like fabric, light cascading downward like waterfalls of gold, and through it, a single figure emerging, his armor glowing brighter than the sun, his wings streaked with fire and lightning. Not trembling, not hesitant, but calm. Because when you carry the authority of God, you don't fear the shadows. The shadows fear you. When his feet touched the borders of hell, the flames bent away. The screams of the damned went silent. The air itself became heavy, as if hell remembered the one power it could never escape, the presence of the Almighty. And deep in his throne, Lucifer opened his eyes. He knew that sound, that pressure in the air, that holiness that burned him like acid. He rose, and for the first time in millennia, the king of pride felt something he hadn't felt since he was thrown out of heaven. Fear. Tell me something. What happens when darkness realizes that light still remembers where it lives? What happens when rebellion meets obedience face to face? That's what we're about to find out. Because this wasn't just a visit. This was a confrontation, a divine reminder that no matter how far he fell, Lucifer was still, and would always be, under authority. When the angel descended into the depths, even hell itself seemed to hold its breath. It was not the kind of entrance made for spectacle. It was slow, deliberate, and absolute. Every shadow recoiled as his light pierced the darkness. The flames that once roared in pride bent away like fearful creatures. The very air grew heavy with the weight of authority that didn't belong there, yet commanded everything it touched. No song had ever been sung in that realm. No praise had ever risen, and yet, at that moment, something like worship rippled through the atmosphere. Not from reverence, but from recognition. Even the fallen could sense it. The presence that once dwelled in heaven had returned, not as an equal, but as a reminder. The angel moved through hell's gates without force. They simply opened at his presence, as though the metal itself remembered its creator and refused to resist his servant. Beyond them stretched an empire of ruin, mountains made of ash, rivers of molten sorrow, and a horizon that bled with eternal flame. It was the world pride had built for itself, and at its center stood a throne, carved from rebellion, veiled in smoke, shadowed by hatred that once glimmered with light. Lucifer sat there, as he always had, a king without a crown that heaven would recognize. Around him were the remnants of his glory, spirits once radiant, now twisted beyond recognition. The angel did not look at them. He didn't have to. Every presence in that realm could already feel that they were seen, not by sight, but by authority. And they trembled. The tension of that moment was beyond words. Light and darkness had met before, but never like this. This was not war. It was judgment. It was the weight of divine remembrance pressing down on everything that had forgotten who God was. Lucifer's throne began to quake. The stones beneath it cracked as the atmosphere of heaven began to saturate the air. The balance of hell started to shift. Every vibration, every echo, every ember reminded the fallen what true dominion felt like. There was no battle cry, no sword raised, only silence. And in that silence, Lucifer's power began to wither. Humiliation for the proud isn't always about defeat. It's about exposure. The unbearable moment when everything you've claimed to be is stripped bare before truth itself. That was what filled hell that day. The angel had not come to destroy. He had come to reveal. Every realm knows its master. Even in rebellion, creation cannot forget its maker. The fires dimmed. The air grew still. The illusions of power faded like smoke dissolving in sunlight. Lucifer's throne, built on pride, could not withstand the weight of divine remembrance. For a brief, eternal moment, hell bowed, not by choice, but by truth. And in that moment, the greatest humiliation unfolded. The being who once carried light now cowered before it. The angel did not gloat, did not speak, did not threaten. He stood as a living proclamation that God's reign extends everywhere, even in the pit where rebellion thinks it hides. Every flicker of his light reminded the damned that authority is not given. It is inherent to the one who made all things. And though no words were exchanged, the message was clear. Hell is not beyond reach. Darkness is not beyond rule. And even the fallen prince must yield when divine authority enters the room. Now pause for a moment and think about that. If the presence of one obedient servant could silence the kingdom of darkness, what could the presence of God's Spirit do through you, right where you are? How many battles are you afraid to face, forgetting that authority doesn't come from shouting, it comes from being sent? Because when heaven sends you, hell remembers who commands you. That's not arrogance. That's truth. And in that truth, hell's throne trembled. There are moments in eternity when even the shadows learn to listen. This was one of them. As the angel stood within that burning realm, the radiance of heaven pulsed through the darkness like a heartbeat. Hell had always been loud, filled with cries, hatred, and the endless noise of torment. But now every sound was gone. The silence was not peace, it was power. Every fallen spirit that once boasted of rebellion suddenly felt small, fragile, and temporary. It was as if the whole realm had realized God had never left. The angel's presence wasn't a display of rage or dominance. It was simply divine order returning to where chaos thought it ruled. The authority of heaven does not scream, it simply stands. And when it stands, everything else must bow. The foundations of hell began to shift. Flames flickered and dimmed. Chains that had been forged in darkness began to hum, Not in resistance, but in recognition. Creation itself was remembering its maker, even in the place that tried to deny him. Lucifer's throne, once so proud and immovable, began to crumble from the bottom up. It wasn't shattered by violence, it was undone by truth. For pride cannot stand in the same space as obedience. And obedience was what the angel carried, the pure, radiant reflection of heaven's will. That's the part that most people miss. Authority doesn't come from position, it comes from submission. Even in heaven, angels don't act on their own. They move only when God commands. And that's why this angel's presence alone was enough to humiliate Lucifer. He was a living reminder of what the devil had lost, the power that comes from obedience. Hell trembled, not because it feared destruction, but because it remembered. It remembered what light once felt like before rebellion turned it to ruin. It remembered the music that used to echo through its leader's wings before pride made him fall. And in that remembering, hell bowed, not to the angel, but to the God who sent him. The confrontation wasn't physical, it was spiritual, an invisible collision between what was lost and what still is. Lucifer's pride met heaven's purity, and there was no contest. Every lie he had built his throne upon, every illusion of power, melted under the weight of the truth that had entered his kingdom. It wasn't the fire that burned him this time, it was remembrance, and that's the cruelest form of defeat for pride, to be forced to face what you once were. The angel did not need to speak because his silence was a sermon. It declared everything that mattered, that God's authority is not limited by place, distance, or rebellion. That light is not afraid of darkness. Darkness is afraid of light. That even in hell, God is still sovereign. There is something deeply humbling about that thought, isn't there? That even in our lowest places, the presence of God can still find us, not to condemn us, but to remind us of who He is. And in that moment, all of hell realized something it had long tried to forget. Lucifer might rule over rebellion, but rebellion itself is still ruled by God. The throne collapsed completely then. The symbol of defiance turned to ash at the feet of obedience. The angel didn't stay to watch. He didn't linger for victory. His mission wasn't to destroy, but to remind. And once the reminder was delivered, his work was done. As he turned to leave, his light began to lift. Slowly, gracefully, rising through the darkness like dawn over an endless night. The fires tried to follow him, reaching upward as though yearning for redemption they could never have. And for a fleeting moment, even hell glowed, not from torment, but from the reflection of heaven's glory. That is the weight of divine authority. It doesn't need to conquer, it simply reveals. And once light is revealed, darkness has no choice but to yield. Before he vanished beyond that realm, the angel's presence left behind something invisible, a reminder etched deep into the fabric of hell itself, that no matter how long it burns, no matter how deep it hides, it still belongs to the one who created it. And when that presence was gone, hell exhaled again, but not in relief, in shame, because once more, it had been reminded of its defeat. Now think about that. If one moment of divine presence could silence the kingdom of darkness, what would happen if we carried even a fraction of that authority into our daily battles? How many of your fears would bow, not because you shouted louder, but because you finally remembered who sent you? Hell doesn't fear you, it fears what you carry. And when that authority walks into a room, every lie, every fear, every shadow knows it's over. That's what the angel carried into hell that day. And that's what God wants you to carry wherever darkness tries to reign. When the angel departed, silence lingered. A silence so deep that even eternity seemed to pause and listen. The darkness didn't roar again. The flames didn't rise. Hell simply stopped. The weight of what had just happened was beyond comprehension. For the first time since his fall, Lucifer had been reminded, not by force, not by chains, but by presence, that he was never truly in control. He was powerful, yes. Cunning, yes. But autonomous? Never. Even in rebellion, he still lived under the sovereignty of the one he tried to overthrow. And that realization was the true humiliation, because to be reminded that your entire existence, even your rebellion, still bends to the command of God, is a truth that no darkness can bear. Hell's light had dimmed, but not vanished. The fire still burned, but with a different tone, like shame smoldering in eternal embers. Every fallen spirit that had once roared in allegiance now avoided Lucifer's gaze. They had seen something their pride couldn't unsee, heaven's authority in motion. And even they, creatures of defiance, had bowed without knowing why. It wasn't submission out of will. It was instinct. Because deep down, even fallen beings remember what holiness feels like. Meanwhile, in heaven, something remarkable happened. The moment the angel returned, the heavens themselves rejoiced. Not with noise, but with light. Every seraph, every throne, every watcher knew that something eternal had just been reestablished. Not because God needed to prove his authority, but because creation had once again witnessed it. You see, authority isn't for God's sake, it's for ours. Heaven already knows who he is, but the rest of creation, the restless, the rebellious, the doubting, sometimes needs to see what happens when divine will enters the battlefield. And so this descent into hell wasn't just judgment, it was revelation. Every act of God carries a message for those who watch, and this one whispered across eternity, "Even where my name is cursed, I am still Lord." The angel, now back among the hosts of heaven, bore no scars, no ash, no trace of the realm he had entered, because holiness cannot be contaminated. Instead, he carried something else, a deeper glow, as if the journey had intensified the divine fire within him. Heaven didn't look at him with awe, they looked with understanding, because every angel knew obedience had once again defeated pride. And somewhere between those realms, in the invisible border between light and darkness, the memory of what had happened remained etched forever. Not in words, but in silence. Because even silence can testify when it's filled with the presence of truth. Lucifer, humiliated but not destroyed, sat among the ashes of his own kingdom. His throne gone, his authority shaken, his pride fractured. Yet his defiance remained. But deep inside him, something had changed. He would never admit it, but he now remembered. He remembered what heaven felt like. Not as nostalgia, but as pain. The kind of pain that doesn't wound the body, but the soul. The pain of knowing you once stood near God, and now kneel beneath his command, even in your rebellion. And maybe that's why Lucifer's hatred burns so fiercely, because every reminder of God is also a reminder of who he used to be. The angel did not return to boast. He didn't speak of the victory. He simply stood in heaven's light and worshiped, as if nothing had happened. Because true authority doesn't seek applause. It fulfills its purpose and returns to rest. There's something powerful in that truth. That obedience, even when it leads you into the darkest places, never leaves you empty. It leaves you glowing. And the places you've walked through, the darkness you've endured, the fires you've faced, they don't stain you. They testify of the one who sent you. Now think about this. How many times have you walked through something that felt like hell? Not because of sin, but because God sent you there for a purpose. How many moments in your life look like defeat, but were actually assignments to remind darkness that you belong to the light? You see, this story isn't just about an angel humiliating Lucifer. It's about a pattern, a message, a reflection of divine order. Every time light enters darkness, that pattern repeats. Every time truth confronts pride, that confrontation echoes through eternity. And every time a believer stands firm in faith, the authority of heaven once again walks through hell. The angel's descent was a message to all creation, that no realm, no rebellion, no ruler of darkness can stand when heaven decides to move. And that's not just history, it's prophecy. Because what happened once in hell still happens now in hearts, in nations, in hidden places where darkness thinks it rules, until light walks in and everything remembers who's really in charge. When the angel's mission was complete, the storm in hell faded into a quiet unlike anything that had existed there before. The fires did not go out. They simply lost their voice. Lucifer was left broken, not by might or by flame, but by humiliation. His pride, once radiant with rebellion, had been stripped bare. The same light he mocked had now burned through the illusion of his power. The angel did not celebrate. He did not raise his wings in victory. He simply turned away, carrying with him the weight of what he had seen. The ruin of pride, the cost of rebellion, and the silence that follows when God's will is done. His return to heaven was not marked by song or trumpet. It was marked by peace. He ascended through the veil between realms, his armor dimmed by smoke, his wings scarred by fire, yet untouched in spirit. Heaven received him not as a hero, but as a witness. He had seen what no angel wished to see, the heart of pride brought to dust beneath the weight of divine justice. And in that vision was the reminder that God's authority has no boundaries. Not even hell itself could resist it. The angel resumed his place among the host, quieter now, wiser, and forever changed. He had carried the authority of God into the deepest darkness and returned with a truth that would echo across eternity, that the strength of heaven does not come from war or wrath, but from obedience. From that day forward, his story was told not as a tale of battle, but as a testimony, the account of the angel who descended to hell and proved that no throne stands against the will of the Almighty. So maybe the real lesson is this: you don't have to shout at your demons. You don't have to wrestle for authority. You only have to walk in obedience. Because when heaven sends you, hell already knows it's over. And that's the mystery behind it all. The angel didn't go to prove power. He went to remind creation that God never leaves his throne. No matter how far darkness spreads, no matter how deep pride sinks, the authority of heaven still reigns, always has, always will. Lucifer's power had not been shattered by violence, but by revelation. The illusion of strength dissolved under the weight of divine truth, leaving behind only the echo of what once dared to defy heaven. His fall was not measured by defeat, but by exposure, for no darkness can hide forever from the light that created it. The angel did not linger. There was no need for glory, no thirst for praise. He turned from the ashes of rebellion with the quiet resolve of one who understood that victory without humility is just another form of pride. His wings, though scarred by flame, still gleamed faintly with the light of obedience, the kind of light that does not boast but endures. As he ascended, the veil between realms shimmered with peace. Heaven did not greet him as a warrior, but as a witness, a messenger who had seen what pride becomes when left to reign unchallenged. And though his armor was dimmed by smoke, his spirit burned brighter than before, forged by the sight of a kingdom that had forgotten its place beneath the Creator. From that day forward, the tale of his descent was whispered among angels, not as a song of conquest, but as a warning that pride can turn even beauty into ruin, that rebellion begins not with strength, but with blindness, and that even in hell, light remembers where it came from. Because the authority of God does not conquer, it restores. It does not crush, it reveals. And sometimes the loudest proof of heaven's power is not thunder or fire, but the quiet that remains when all resistance fades. In that silence, hell was reminded of its limits, and heaven of its mercy. When pride is stripped bare, what remains of you? If your deepest rebellion were exposed to the light, would it crumble or would it transform? Would you recognize the moment when your confidence turns into arrogance? How far would you go to protect a throne that was never truly yours? And when the silence comes, after the storm, after the struggle, will it be the peace of surrender or the emptiness of defeat? Drop your answer in the comments. What do you think breaks a person more, losing their power or being forced to face the truth behind it?